Alright, here we're looking at death effects handlers. This is the layer that sits around the HealthSystem death flow and lets you trigger things like death effects and optional object cleanup. Before we run it, the setup is deliberately simple. We've got a few targets in the scene and each one has a HealthSystem, plus a HealthDeathEffectHandler. The panel is wired to all of them, so we can switch between targets and test different setups. Some targets also have additional sample components attached, like camera shake or time slow, which react to the same death events. Alright, let's run it. On the Setup tab, we can select which target we're working with. The panel shows whether that target has a HealthSystem, whether it has the death handler, and whether it's currently alive or dead. That separation is important. The HealthSystem owns the actual life and death state, and the handler just reacts to that moment to run the surrounding behaviour. Now let's look at death effects. This is where we control the visual side of the death. We can adjust the spawn offset so the effect lines up with the character properly, and we can control how long the effect lives before cleanup. This is really just quick iteration. Get the visuals right here, then carry the same setup into your actual gameplay systems. Now let's move to actions. We've got the target selector here as well, so we can switch between enemies without jumping back to setup. Destroy on death controls. Whether the object is removed at the end of the death flow, or kept around so we can revive and reuse it. Now we'll test the 3 targets. Enemy 1 is the simplest case. We'll just run the basic death flow and then revive it, so you can see the full life cycle working cleanly. Enemy 2 gives us another variation. Same pipeline, but a different setup. So you can see how the handler can drive different outcomes per target. And enemy 3 adds extra presentation on top. This one has sample components attached that respond to the same death event, triggering camera shake and a brief slow time effect. So when we kill it, you'll feel that heavier, more dramatic death moment. One important distinction here is preview versus real execution. Preview FX only runs the visual effect, no health change, no death event, and none of the additional sample behaviour. Kill runs the actual HealthSystem death flow. So if nothing intercepts it, the full handler pipeline executes, and any attached listeners respond to that event. Revive or reset is just a testing convenience. If the target is dead, it revives it. If it's already alive, it resets health back to max. So the main takeaway from this scene is separation. The HealthSystem decides whether something is alive or dead. The death effect. Handler decides what happens around that moment. And that means you can build your entire kill pipeline on top of this. VFX, camera, slow motion, object cleanup, but also things like rewards, UI, AI reactions, or game logic. Anything that should happen when something dies can hang off this same pipeline. Now, this demo is intentionally simple. We're just toggling a few visual and timing effects, but the important part is the structure behind it. This is all being driven through a real event-based death flow. So instead of hard-coding behaviour in a dozen different places, you've got one consistent point to hook into, and that's where the real power comes from. You can keep it this lightweight, or scale it up into something much more complex, without changing how the system itself works.